Hello, greetings from Wisconsin. 1998 Honda Civic LX. This car has an issue where I'm losing coolant, and I'm pretty sure it's an exhaust head gasket leak. So how do we know? How do you check for it? And there's probably zillions videos you've seen on here, but I'm just going to go through it as well. And just to note, this car did overheat, and in fact, it overheated so bad that I could not pull the spark plug wires out because the caps melted onto the spark plugs. It took me about an hour to break them all free. I've got a different video on that. Put in new wires, new plugs. The car runs great, but having an issue of it running hot, change the thermostat, and losing a little bit of coolant. So traditional things to check for to see if you've got a coolant leak. One would be check the oil. You know, do you see coolant in the oil? Check the oil level, so forth. Are you low on oil? Maybe that's making it run hot. That's been fine. Check the cap. Does it look like you have any grunginess, smudge, any kind of film on the cap that's showing coolant? You know, usually it'd be white. It does not. That looks good. Now, I haven't done a pressure test. I don't have the equipment for that. Check the radiator cap. And I have just filled this thing up. It hasn't run for a few days. Again, are you seeing any sludge or anything on there? Negative. So next thing is crank the engine. Are you seeing bubbles come through the radiator? And they can be kind of slight. And I'm going to do that here for just a second, and we'll see what it looks like. 263,000 miles on here. Starts right up. Idle's a little high. Now, when I did start it, it did kick out a little bit of fluid on that initial start, which makes me suspect something, that some pressure came up through there. And if I run this for a little bit, you know, before it gets up to operating temperature, I am expecting to see that I'll probably have a few little bubbles or something like that. But there's something else you can look at. Let's look at the exhaust. Now, it doesn't look too bad right away. It looks pretty clear, but after this thing runs for a little bit, I'm going to start seeing more of a white color in the exhaust. And that's a pretty good indication that I'm going to be burning some coolant. So I'm going to let this warm up for just a little bit. So initially the exhaust looks pretty good. So we've been running for just a couple minutes and looking at the exhaust, and it's not blue. Now that it's warmed up a little bit, looking at that color, it shouldn't be that thick. So I'm guessing that we're burning a little bit of coolant in here on the exhaust. And again, I wouldn't suspect this directly. I guess the next test you could do, if I had the kit, I would do it, and that is you take the radiator cap off, and there is the gas test you can do where you put something on there and it tests to see, do you have combustion gases in your coolant. I do not have that kit. It's about $30 or $40. This is a beater car, you know, 263,000 miles on it. We've had it since around 240. It drives great. The tires are good. Gets good gas mileage, you know. So, and again, I probably wouldn't go straight with replacing the head gasket, but because I know the engine has overheated, with that information, I'm going to go ahead, and the next thing is going to go ahead and replace the head gasket. So again, the symptoms on this vehicle is that it runs fine. Temperatures, the gauge is right around 9 o'clock normally, and after a while, it starts creeping up. The fan does come on. I've checked all of that other stuff. Everything works, and I lose coolant, or we lose coolant. You know, if you run it for a couple days, we'll lose some coolant, then the temperature will go way up. Put some more coolant in, fine. So again, we are losing coolant, and I'm just curious to see what we're reading on temperature right now. Okay, so not much yet. I don't know if you can see that. It's about the 7 o'clock position. Typically it'll go up to about N and then start rising from there at the 9 o'clock. So next video will be changing the head gasket.